Just to give you guys an introduction about where I came from, now I'm a lead designer at a major bridal company, but when I first started out in this industry, I actually didn't know much about engagement rings. So I thought an engagement ring was something you walked into a store and walked out with the same day. And I also thought that it was just like a plain gold band with a diamond on top. I didn't think there was anything there was anything special about it. There's nothing that you could design about it. It was just, here's your band, here's your diamond, ready to go. But it turns out it's not the case. There's a lot of different options out there, so you can pick out something that really is meaningful to you, that speaks to your style, and that speaks to your lifestyle. Here are just some common types of engagement rings. I'm going to try to keep it less lecture and more ring advice. And with all these options, how are you going to pick something that you know that she's going to like? Do you go with something that's trendy? Do you go with something really super simple? Do you go super duper unique because you know she likes that? And when you walk into a store and you see hundreds of these styles out there, how do you choose? So one of the first things we're going to talk about is solitaires. A solitaire is just a simple gold band, but there are so many details that you can add to your solitaire that make it a little extra special. You could add a little diamond in the halo, you could add like beading on the side, so what you see here, that's actually done by hand by a jeweler, and it's something that makes the ring look more vintage. So if her style is something that's a little bit more vintage, maybe even with a solitaire you can express it. Thank you. Short people problems. So you can express your personal style with these little extra details that make it something that's more unique for you and for your future spouse. You can also do different types of heads, and this is all very overwhelming and detailed, but I'll just give you like a crash course in what this is all about. There's a very common settings head that's a 4-pronged cathedral. What that means is the shoulders of the ring go all the way up to protect your center stone. So it's still very simple, but it's protecting the center stone, and it has your center stone sitting really high, so if you want to put a wedding band next to it, it's going to sit there with no gap, which a lot of people like. The great thing about these is they're, like I said, very secure. And that matters because you're going to wear this ring every single day. It is coming off your cold dead hand. I cannot stress you enough. So if you're the type of person that is always digging around in their purse or working with their hands or has gloves on all day, that's just something that you want to think about, because you're probably not going to want something really dainty that's going to fall apart when you're living your life. Next type of setting, this is a 4-pronged peg head. So like you can see that the diamond is sitting on top of the band, which a lot of people like because it shows off the diamond, but it's not as secure. The great thing about this though is, let's say you start out with 1 carat, and it's like the most beautiful ring you've ever imagined, and then you make your first million, hopefully your second million too. You decide you can upgrade your center stone. What do? Do you get a whole new ring? With something like this, your jeweler, if you have a great jeweler like Sequel Jewelers, your jeweler can just pop the head, put a new head on, and you won't be able to tell that it's a different ring. So you can keep the ring that you got engaged with, but you can still upgrade the center stone. But you just don't want to go digging around in the garden if you have this type of setting, because that's dangerous. You can bend the head. So really great option for that if you are more active, but you're not looking for a cathedral, you don't want to hide your diamond at all, you want it to be built up and all the attention on the center stone. This is a really great option. It's a 6-prong. So those extra prongs actually make your diamond a ton more secure. And if you notice, this one, the head is actually sitting on the finger. So with the head sitting on the finger, that's as low as a diamond can absolutely be. It cannot get any lower than that unless you're putting it directly into your finger, which is good for. So with that, it's not as easy to upgrade when you become a millionaire, but you still can if you have a really great jeweler. So if you started out with 1 carat, you can absolutely switch to a bigger stone, or you can switch to a totally different shape. Let's say you decided that you really like an oval can still use the same ring and just change the head. And then speaking of the center prongs, like the ones that you saw before, they were round prongs. The great thing about round prongs is that they are less visible, so you see more of the diamond. But then you have something like eagle claw prongs. This is a daintier look. So they're actually covering more of the stone, but they're thinner. And it's great for styles that are more on the vintage side, and they just look really cool. So it's just a matter of personal preference, really. And then over here, here's another setting type. This is kind of Art Deco style. So, you know, you've got someone who likes really architectural things and jewelry of that era. This is a really good option. So, still a solitaire, still very classic, but you can add a trendy little detail like that and totally amp it up. More prongs, and you're going to be experts by the end of this. I hope you're taking notes as quiz. So V-tip prongs are really important if you have a center stone that has sharp edges. If you've got like a marquee, which is kind of a peg shape, if you have a princess cut, which is more of a square shape, you want to be able to protect those corners because again, if you're wearing this ring for the rest of your life, you want to make sure that banging against something, you're not breaking your diamond. Because guess what? Diamonds can break, especially if you hit it against another diamond. For people like me who are a little bit more on the klutzy side and bang into everything, if there's a sharp corner anywhere, believe me, I found it. Bezel settings are great because it is practically indestructible. There's almost nothing that you can do with the bezel setting that would cause a diamond to pop out or cause it to be damaged. Wow, that's loading. The reason I'm telling you all of these super specific things that you might not think you need to know is because you're going in there and you're spending a ton of money. Probably the most money you've ever spent in your life, especially on a piece of jewelry. And you want to make sure, no pressure, you want to make sure that this piece is, you know, 100% what's going to match your lifestyle, not just your style. Something might be trendy today, like for instance, dainty settings are really, really trendy today. If you're riding horses every weekend, and if you're weightlifting, and if you are, you know, digging around in the garden all the time, or playing with children, you know, maybe a dainty setting is not for you. You might love it, but you're not going to love having to come in and repair it all the time. So, to that end, let's talk about what we call classics. Basically, a classic is anything that has diamonds in the band. And as you can see, there are a ton of different options. You can go for something really simple and modern. So if your partner wants to do something that's going to be trendy forever, and by trendy forever, you really just mean it's going to be in style forever, that's a really great option for you. If they're a little bit on the funkier side, you could do some of these extra details, and you can see like how the center is set, those little extra prongs on the side. Maybe there's a little bit of a scalloping detail. It's a very simple classic band. It's always going to be in style, but that doesn't mean that you can't put your own little spin on it. And just some more examples for you of different setting types. You still have diamonds in the band, lots of bling, but the way that you set the stone is going to change the appearance of the whole piece. Every single one of these is really unique. And you can combine all these different aspects of different rings and make something that's really uniquely yours. And we're coming up on my favorite category. So this one is really cool because a three-stone used to be a very traditional engagement ring. You have your big round center, and you have two smaller rounds on the sides, and you know, I'm sure you know someone who has a ring that looks like that. This is a really modern update. So it speaks to the legacy of engagement rings. It's definitely a very traditional way to wear an engagement ring, but there's so many new options for it. Like you can do little fancy stones on the side. You can change, like for instance, this little oval right there, those are pear shapes on the side, so you don't have to use all the same shapes. But then if you wanted to, If you wanted to, you could also do all three stones the same shape. So if you had like an emerald cut center, you could do emerald cut sides. And this again is a matter of personal preference. Like Leah was saying before, if you go for more elongated stones, it tends to make your fingers look longer, which I love because I have short, stubby hands. And then another great category is halos. Halos are really fabulous because they're center stones surrounded by smaller stones around it. So they're basically hugging the center stone and making it look bigger. This is great if you have a smaller stone and you want to make it look bigger, and it's also great if you have a large stone because then you're going to make it look really huge. And then even here, even if you decide to go with something super duper simple, you can add a little detail. Like this is called the peekaboo diamond. You can also do this with gemstones. So let's say her birthstone is September. You can put a sapphire. Let's say you wanted to put a little ruby in it. You can totally do that. You can even do multiple stones or little graded details. There's just really no limit to what you can do. And then this is a new trend. This is something that's become really popular this year. This is called the hidden halo, and you can see there's different options for it. So you can have it just right around the center stone. You can have it underneath it. You could have also diamonds on the bridge. Again, it's a great way to dress up a really simple style. So if you want to keep it simple with the engagement ring so that you never have to worry about it running out of style, you can at least add a detail that when you're looking down at your hand, you can see that little hidden halo, which is really cool. It's something sweet that you don't see from every angle. So when you're looking at it from the top, you're only seeing your center stone, which is great. And that's the main attraction. But at least when you're looking at it from the side, it still has that little something special that might make you smile. And then another thing I always tell people, when you're shopping for your engagement ring, I know you're not ready to think about the wedding band yet, but you have to. So you have to picture the whole set together. If you're going to choose an engagement ring where the diamond is sitting on the finger, it might interfere with a straight band. Some people really, really don't want a gap between their band and their engagement ring. And if that's the case, you want to make sure that you're getting an engagement ring where the center stone is lifted enough to put a band flush next to it. Not always the case. You can always do a curved band, you can do a funkier band, you can do a band stack. I encourage that. Something really cool you can do is if you get a solitaire, which is super simple, you can get a funkier wedding band, and then for all the special occasions that you have coming up, like your first anniversary or maybe a push present, you can just add bands to the stack. I had one friend of mine who told me when we were putting her set together when she was about to get engaged, she was like, I want a ring for every young man. So imagine how much space that can take up. We're about at year number 5, so I'll keep you posted. I'm really curious to see how many we can put on one end. But one of the best pieces of advice I can give you when you're doing this, because it's so overwhelming, there's so many options out there, is that you should take your time and you shouldn't panic. I know it's a lot of pressure. It's the most important ring you're probably ever going to design in your life. And your partner's going to have it for the rest of her life and probably pass it down to the next generation. I mean, these things become family heirlooms. They're really truly special. They carry your story. It's the beginning of your legacy together. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure. But at the same time, you're already done with the hard work. You found your partner. Guys, believe me, that part is so much harder than picking out the engagement ring. The engagement ring, you're going to know it's the one when you see it. And when you're considering all these things, like if you look at some of the things that I showed you today, this little crash course, when you're thinking about, does she work with her hands? Does she have a really active lifestyle? Is she super careful with her jewelry? Does she take her necklace off at night? Does she shower with all her jewelry on? When's the last time you saw her take that necklace off? If the answer is never, probably you shouldn't go for like a 1.5 millimeter tiny dainty little baby band with a giant 4-carat stone. Just advice, free advice. Or at least if you're going to do that, get really excellent insurance. But yeah, I mean, you just have to consider your lifestyle and think about your life together and what's going to fit into your life. It's something that you're both going to look at every day, so both of you have to love it. best thing you can do is give yourself plenty of time, come in shopping early, see what's out there. I promise you, there's so many options out there, you're gonna find the right one. If you have any questions at all, come see me right there. I have all my engagement rings with me. There's a lot of cool stuff to look at, so can't wait to chat with you. Thank you so much.